We'll now call to order the special call meeting for October 5th, 2020. Just before we go into our meeting on tonight, first of all, let me thank and acknowledge Ruth Buffington for the kind balloons and cards and stickers that were provided to our council on tonight. We are always grateful for those residents who show appreciation. Certainly, they don't have to do that, but we are grateful when they do. The next thing I'd like to do is recognize our retiring police officer, Mr. Danny Spears. I'm going to go down. Chief Teehee will join me. And then when it's time for our photos, all counselors are please invited to join me.
Just got a little token of appreciation from the city showing Danny's retirement. He's one that wouldn't let us have a cake and punch. I'll talk loud. Wouldn't let us do cake and punch, so we do at least get an opportunity to acknowledge him with the council, and so the rest of the city can see it. Danny's been a friend, fellow officer for over 21 years. And while I hate to see him go, I'm always excited to have an opportunity to wish him well on retirement. Said Candy hadn't started giving him too many things to do yet, so I'm sure that's coming. But I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So one of the honors that we began is to be certain that we take proper time to recognize police officers that have dedicated at least 20 years of police service to our city. And so I have mixed emotions about saying goodbye to Danny in his current capacity, because in the last, I guess, 7 or 8 months, we've established a really nice bond. And I have appreciated him so much. But I realize the times in which we live in, and I know that he wants to enjoy his family in peace, but still have some connection to all of those men and women in brown and blue that have meant so much to him. And so, Danny, I want to say, not just for ceremonial purposes, but for how I really feel about you. We appreciate you for all of the time that you've dedicated to the city of Muskogee. And it is my honor and privilege as the mayor of Muskogee to give you, as a retiring police officer, a key to the city. All council, please come down if you don't mind, so that we can get a group picture with Officer Spears. And let's do it in front of the podium, if that's okay, please. My average little people to the front. We the same height.
Hello, Tyler. Can you hear me? I'm not getting any audio.
Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Evelyn Hibbs. Alex Reynolds.
Here.
Stephanie Morgan.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hoos.
Here.
Item number 1.
Receive report on the COVID-19 pandemic in Muskogee, and if necessary, take appropriate action to authorize and approve a subsequent amendment to Resolution Number 2801, declaring a local emergency, or City-County Joint Resolution Number 2803.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of council. We have our weekly report, as you know, and our numbers are just about as high as they've ever been on active cases within the city. We do have our usual experts, including Doug Walton from the Health Department and Tyler Evans, our emergency manager. I've asked Tyler to come forward now, give you a briefing, and then we can proceed.
And good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council. In front of you should have your packet that you're used to seeing. We'll go over it briefly. Maybe. As Mr. Miller said, we're at our highest number of active cases that we've seen thus far. We're at 211 active cases for the city of Muskogee. The county numbers are increasing as well in the number of active cases. We're up to 18 fatalities for the city of Muskogee. At the bottom of the page in the purple line is your line graph showing the depiction of the number of active cases going up since August 17th. For the state of Oklahoma, 15% of ICU beds are available, 22% medical surgery beds are available, 70% operating rooms are available. On the following two pages, you have your percentages based on populations for the state of Oklahoma, Muskogee County, and the city of Muskogee. And if you flip over to the orange state of Oklahoma, that is the COVID-19 tracker system the Oklahoma State Department of Health tracks. That is your percentage of cases per 100,000. We are still in the orange level, which is more than 14.29 cases per 100,000. Mr. Walton, when he speaks here shortly, will have the update from Muskogee County, what the latest percentage is. On the following page, with the red and blue dots here, is the COVID-19 test daily percent positive with a 7-day rolling average. So this line graph in the blue and red is what makes up the state of Oklahoma map in your yellow and your orange. The red will be your 7-day rolling average, and this is for the state of Oklahoma, and the blues will be your daily. And that is what makes up the yellow and orange COVID-19 alert system for the state of Oklahoma. If you flip your page over, Muskogee County is the following page. It's kind of got the orange dots everywhere. Unfortunately, they don't have these 7-day rolling averages broken down for the counties. It's just based on daily. On the next following page, it says cases and deaths. In the blue is the number of cases, Oklahoma cases. You can see the dark blue line graph. That's the average that goes through there. Obviously, we've been going up heavily since June. And then the bottom is the deaths by date of death and case fatality rate per 100 cases. It's, for the most part, seems to remain pretty stable. You don't see any large movements either up or down on the death rate. I did include, these are from the weekly epidemiology reports. It's published weekly, once a week, and this is for the week September 24th through October 1st. The percent of cases ever hospitalized by date of report. If you wanted an overview of the hospitalization rate, this is a good graph to look at. Obviously, more people are getting COVID-19. It's spreading. The number of active cases are going up. The number of cumulative cases are going up. However, the percent of cases ever hospitalized has, to me, and the line graph, looked to be pretty stable and actually going down slightly. On the following page, you have COVID-19 related emergency department visits. Now, remember, this is for the state of Oklahoma. They're keeping track of how many COVID-19 cases come into the emergency department. If you flip the page over, it says Oklahoma State Report. This is your Washington Task Force report. As apologies, these come out on Sundays, and they simply don't publish it to the website fast enough for us to get the latest report. So this report you're looking in front of you is a week old. That says Oklahoma, but this is the Washington Task Force report. Some good news is we did move out of the red zone into the yellow zone from the Washington Task Force. As you recall, last time we were up here, we were still in a red zone for a metro area and a county, so we've moved from the red down to the yellow. If you flip your page over, it shows, to this page right here, it shows the different counties. It's got the 12 counties. We were there in the middle to the left. We're now on the bottom for Muskogee County, but we're still in the top 12, unfortunately. And the last sheet, it shows 4 Oklahomas. We're in the pink for the new cases per 100,000 during the last week. Now remember, this will be 2 weeks prior because this report is a week old and they're looking at the previous week. We're in the yellow for the laboratory test positivity during the last week. The weekly change in new cases were in yellow, and the weekly change in viral, which is the rapid test and the PCR test. Laboratory test positivity is also in the green. So we hope to see that trend continue where we're moving out of the red into the yellow and out of the yellow back into the green and getting off the top 12 counties. So we hope to continue that trend. Like I said, this from the Washington Task Force is now 2 weeks old. I wish we had last week's report. They simply don't publish it fast enough for me to grab it for us. So next week I hope that we're off this report completely, or at least maybe into a green instead of the yellow. Does anybody have any questions as far as this report goes? If there's no questions, I'd like to introduce Doug Walsh with Muskogee County Health Department.
Yeah, hello, Tyler, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me. As Tyler noted, we're continuing to see active cases, running high both for the county and the city, although we are, seeing some slowing in the rate of that growth. Really, I think it's just a matter of continuing to remind the public about the things that can reduce the spread of coronavirus, maintaining social distance, keeping 6 feet or further from people whenever possible, wearing face coverings whenever in public, and hand washing. Those are the 3 most critical things that we can all be doing that will help to reduce the spread. We're continuing to do free testing at the Muskogee County Health Department from 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. Monday through Thursdays, and now on Fridays from 8:30 to 4:30 through the month of October. We'll be doing drive-through flu shots. Those are essentially free, although we ask people to bring their ID and their insurance card. And if they do have insurance that will cover the vaccination, then we will bill insurance. And if they don't, then there won't be a charge. No appointments are necessary for those flu shots, nor for the drive-through testing for the standard PCR test, which is a normal 2 to 3 day turnaround. We do require appointments for the rapid test, which is same day, and that is essentially for anyone that has been told they were a contact for a positive case and or has a underlying health condition or is over the age of 65. And then they can call, anyone can call 918-683-0321 to find out more about any of the testing or the flu vaccination. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Doug, this is Mayor Coleman. I have a question.
Sure, Mayor.
Is it safe to say that the more testing takes place in the Midwest and Southwest in particular, where we are, that we should expect to see more positive case numbers because more testing is available than it was before?
Well, that's partially correct. The issue is really when the test is conducted, what percent of the tests that are conducted are resulting in positive samples as far as the results of the test. And we've continued to see rates of positivity to go up in Muskogee County and throughout the state of Oklahoma. And so it's that the frequency at which we have positive results from the testing that we're doing. So sure, we test more people, we'll find more more of the virus. But since the beginning of testing, when we first started, up until the 1st of June, we were finding positivity rates of less than 1% of those who we tested were positive. And now we're finding rates that are closer to 10% or over 10%. And normally, community spread is considered that you have community spread within an area when you're at rates above about 5 or 6% positivity.
And so, of those numbers of people that are being tested, do we know how many were asymptomatic?
We don't actually have that data available at the county health department level. The state of Oklahoma has access to the data. I can't say that I've actually seen it presented or shared for our use, but there are questions about symptoms when people are sampled. Yes. So, but I'm sorry, I cannot answer because I don't have that information.
If you can, and if there's a way for us to get that information, can you try to get it to us for next week?
Ooh, I can certainly try, and I have tried before and have been told it is not available for our use. But I will continue to seek that information. And just to clarify, you're curious about the number of or the percent of those tested that are presenting as asymptomatic when they are tested and positive?
Yes.
Okay, right. That's what I understood. Okay, I will see what I can find out there.
And then the last thing I'll have is that I believe I'm correct when I look at all of the previous graphs that it has taken us from March until now to have the high number of positive cases that we have. Is that correct?
Yes, I think that, that is correct. The numbers of total cases, of course, is cumulative and only gets added to, and it's the active cases that we are at the highest level of active cases, which is when we just simply take the total cases and subtract out the number who have recovered and the number of fatalities, and that leaves us with the current remainder of cases that are still active. And those numbers, both at the county and city level, are at their highest levels yet.
And the reason why I asked that final question was because I think it's important for the viewers to understand that we're not what was inerrantly reported by the New York Times when they issued this broad newspaper article that basically said Muskogee was an epicenter, instead of them taking the time to extrapolate the data and say that we had a problem in the county as related directly to confined quarters versus the city having community spread. So I just wanted to hear that so that when I'm echoing those sentiments, it's fair to say that their article was incorrect.
I think you are right in that it was not capturing kind of the extent or the nature of the spread that we were seeing in the county, and that was not reflective of the rates of spread within the city. That is correct. although, as you did ask, we are, still at the highest level of the active number of active cases in the city, but I think nowhere, near what it appeared from the incidents at the correctional facilities at the county level.
And I wanted to state that because I think if other people are going to try to tell our story, they should at least be correct. And in this instance, they were egregiously in error. That's all I have.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to remind our citizens that are watching the places to get tested. Obviously, the health department, Monday through Friday. As Doug stated, you can also go to Express Wellness on Chandler Road next to Charlie's Chicken, Urgent Care on South 32nd Street next to Wendy's, and Med Now on Shawnee next to Freddy's. All offer COVID-19 testing out there. I'd like to introduce Trish German with Muskogee County EMS to give us an update for EMS.
Good evening. Muskogee County EMS, we're doing really good on our call volume. It's staying right about the same. We're still out there disinfecting our trucks like we're supposed to, in between each patient like we're supposed to, fogging whenever we get we suspect anything that's COVID related, using the PAPRs like we're supposed to. So, and we did get a report that I think we're getting some PPE in, but we're still low on gloves, just like any healthcare facility out there. Another thing is I had mentioned that Boo on the Flu has been scheduled for October 30th. It has been changed to October 16th, so not this Friday, but next Friday. It's real important that people get out there and get a flu shot. You don't have to get out of your car. We'll have nurses there giving the flu shot while you're sitting inside the car. It is a free vaccine, so definitely come out, get your flu shot. 7 to 4, I believe, and this is going to be sponsored by St. Francis Hospital, Muskogee Medical Foundation, and I'm not for sure the nursing group that's coming out, but I'll have that information for everybody next week. Muskogee County EMS will also be there. I have had some calls on asking if this is the high-dose flu shot. I'm not for sure yet. It was just actually brought to me today, so I'll start looking at that information. People ask me all the time, why is it important to get the flu shot? Well, we have COVID going on, then we've got flu season coming on. We don't want to overwhelm our healthcare workers, so real important that we get out there and get the flu shot. It's really, really important now. And it seems like I had something else. Oh, I do have calls, and we've done this for many years, for the elderly or people that can't get out and get a flu shot. They can call Muskogee County EMS. If we have flu shots available, we'll send a medic out to their home and give them a flu shot so they're protected also. Any questions?
I have a question. For the benefit of those watching tonight, can you explain the difference between the high dosage and the other dosage of the flu shot?
I personally can't. I'm not real familiar with that. Is that something you can help out with?
So for those over age of 65, as your immune system wanes, they have what's called a high antigen flu vaccine that just gives you a more robust immune response. It's recommended for those of 65 and older. However, studies show just a flu vaccine helps regardless of high antigen or not, 65 or older.
Definitely. And you got to think about patients that have chronic lung problems, COPD, asthma patients, and things like that. This is going to help reduce the possibility of them getting the flu, which means they won't get hospitalized or even end up in ICU.
And I think that's important to highlight because there's anxiety across the whole country about the word vaccine. And I think that residents need to be aware of the fact that if they can get the flu shot, they probably should, because we don't want flu and COVID-19 jogging in a race against each other if we could avoid that.
Definitely. So, any other questions? I can help anybody? Thank you.
If there's no further questions from council.
Mr. Mayor, I'll be recognized.
Yes.
I'm kind of lost up here a little bit, Mr. Evans. we get a report up here dated 9/27/2020, and this is not a correct report. In other words, it's not an up-to-date report. Today is the 5th of October. So I'm pretty sure the numbers have gone up here in Muskogee or wherever. But what gets me is we get up here and we do all these reports. And COVID's running rapid around here in Muskogee, Oklahoma. You know that. So right now in Muskogee, what are we rated? We rated orange, red. What are we rated?
We don't have that report.
We don't have that report.
No, as I stated earlier, they don't publish a report soon enough for me to print to bring to council. I say that for about 3 weeks now. What's your recommendations? If they don't publish reports, what's your recommendation? I'm all ears.
Well, I hear you say we need to stay 6 foot distance. We need to have these masks on, which we all do in here, correct? But when we leave out of here, we have all these glorious events here in Muskogee, and you go to them, nobody has masks on. That's my problem I see here in Muskogee. Because I went to several events this weekend, no mask. Do you think people 6 foot distance? Hugging each other closely. That's why I say we get up here and do all these reports, but people are not paying attention, or they just don't think this stuff is important. I mean, this coronavirus is important here. That's why I have a problem with it. When I'm actually looking at it, and I'll have my mask on, and you got nobody around me got a mask. So I have a problem with that. You know, everybody on this council, the mayor, y'all all have a problem with that. You can't go out here and just party with these folks and just like everything, just la, la, la. It's not. That's just me. But I was just curious, you know, if we read, we need to have these masks on, we need to be 6 foot distance, and blah, blah, blah. If we orange, we need the same thing, correct? I'm just going on the hypothetical.
Well, for clarification, so I know what to do, is there something wrong with my report, or do you want to see something different, or do you have problems with the city's policy? I just need some direction here.
I just want to see, I mean, you know, I know it's behind, but the way when I go out in the community, when you get these reports, the people are really not, you can't make grown people, and that's another thing, you can't make grown people do what they're going to do, supposed to do. You can't do that. We just can't do that up here. But these reports ought to tell them something to kind of put a little fear in them. You know, even at schools, don't they wear masks? The students wear masks at schools all the time? Do anyone know up here? Some? I mean, you know, if our students is wearing masks, our adults to get out here and party, they need to wear a mask. I'll go to these events that we have here in Muskogee. That's just what I'm saying.
Okay.
You know, it's nothing you're doing, Mr. Evans. I know you can't help because the report is late. I understand that. But we got to have some common sense up here and do things just a little bit different. Because this stuff is just, it's here in Muskogee. It's here. But we act like it's not. And it saddens my heart when I walked around and seen all these people this weekend. And I mean, like I said, I had to send 95 on. But I didn't stay long. Trust me. And then you got food vendors. Don't have gloves on their hands. Don't have masks on their face. And they're giving you food out of a truck like that. I'm talking about this weekend, what I've seen. I have a problem with that. I'm pretty sure, Council McGee, when you was doing your food truck downtown, when you had your gloves, you had your mask on, giving people. That right there, that tells me something about people. When they don't have that and they don't care about themselves, they sure don't care about me. That's all I got to say. I'll turn the floor back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is Mr. Walton still on the line? I'll email him my question. That's fine.
I'd like to remind council.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mayor. Remind council, if there's something else in the report you'd like to see, I've changed it throughout the months. We've been doing this since March or April. If there's something different you'd like to see, like I said, we've added the COVID-19 tracker system. We've added the Washington Task Force report in here also. I want to remind our public that this data comes directly from the state of Oklahoma, from the Washington Task Force. It's not an opinion piece. It's a fact sheet. It's a data sheet. As you read this, these are purely numbers. There's no opinions in here. But if the council would like to see something different, please let me know. We'll have that added to the report for you guys next week. That concludes my update. I'd like to turn the floor back over to Mr. Miller.
Can I ask you one more question, Mr. Evans?
Yes, sir.
You know, when you get COVID, I haven't had it, thank God. When you get COVID-19 and you suspect that you have it, you have to do a 14-day quarantine?
Do you have to?
Yes.
It's recommended that you do a 14-day quarantine if you're suspected of having COVID-19 or come into contact with somebody that has been a positive case.
So it's recommended. It's not saying you got to do it.
It's a recommendation from the state health department. As far as I know, there's no Oklahoma state statute or federal law requiring you to stay at your house. I may be wrong on that, but as far as I know, it's a recommendation from the CDC and others. I'm sure Dr. Hoos may be familiar with that, and it sounds like Mr. Lawton is possibly still on the phone.
I'll still email him
Okay.
my question.
Because I was just curious.
As far as I know, there's no state statute as a violation, because we've seen news stories of people not abiding by the 14-day quarantine. As far as I know, there's no statutory action that I'm aware of that would, currently on the books, that would be a criminal violation.
Okay, so if I get COVID-19 right now, and I got it right up here, I'll go test tomorrow and I got it. So the recommendation from the CDC is I got to stay home 14 days, correct?
No, the recommendation is if you're positive that you are quarantined for 10 days since symptoms first started and you have at least 24 to 36 hours of fever-free or symptom-free. They really would like you free of majority of symptoms, but some symptoms are longer lasting than that. Could be loss of taste. If you've had a COVID contact, so someone's positive in your house, you had that contact, you are asked to quarantine for 14 days from the onset of their positive test whenever you're with them. So it's 10 days if you're positive, plus you must be symptom-free.
Well, thank you for the information,
Yep.
Dr. Hoos. It kind of brightens my light a little bit because we got a president running around, got COVID, and he's, I don't believe that, what he's doing. So he's not setting a good example for us. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Staff has nothing further at this time.
Thank you. Item number 2.
Consider approval of the Board of County Commissioners' appointments of David White, Ken Doak, and John Barton to serve on the Muskogee City County Trust Port Authority, each for a 4-year term beginning October 1, 2020, and ending August 31, 2024, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, as you know, this board is made up of city appointees and county appointees. The county has sent these nominees over. They have affirmed them and asking us to do the same. I am here just to present on their behalf, and I don't know if there's anyone here from the port today to answer any questions, but I would recommend approval based off of the county commissioners' recommendations and nominations of these 3 individuals.
Thank you. Do we have any comments or a motion from the council?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, may we recognize?
Yes.
Yes, I went over to the county commissioners about 2 weeks ago, and I've seen this in the paper. And I've tried, since I've been a councilman up here, to try to get the county commissioners to put more people of color on this board, because this board here is like Congress. You got to die on it, before you get another reappointment. And I have a problem with this board because they do not, the county commissioners, as long as I've been up here on the council, they have not appointed a person of color on this board at all. And I have a problem with that. And I tell them that all the time, but it just goes in one ear, out the other. But every time something like this comes up, I'm going to say something because I got to say something. Because right is right and wrong is wrong. And, we all want people that's qualified, and I gave them a very good qualification. Man, it's a CEFO of Griffin's. He's retiring now. And he was at the top of the line. I don't know what they want over there. But like I say, they have these people be on these boards for a long, long, long time. They don't want to get them off. It's like a good old boy system, just keeps rolling along, rolling along. And that's all I got to say about that. You know where I'm getting my point to. There needs to be something changed about this situation on this port board. You're the only minority on there, and you know how you got there between me and Councilman Reed. Other than that, just right up here, they just, hey, forget them. We don't need people of color on this board. Thank you. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion, or do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
No.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. The item passes. Item number 3.
Consider approval of ordinance number 4106A, authorizing the renewal of a non-exclusive agreement/permit with Seabridge Acquisition LP DBA Suddenlink Communications for the operation of a cable system within the city limits of Muskogee for a period of 5 years expiring in 2025, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, Mayor and members of council, this is very similar to the public hearing we had last Monday, and I'll just reemphasize some of the points we made at that time. This is a, number one, non-exclusive agreement, so any other company could come into Muskogee and offer cable television services. And again, this is an agreement for cable television services. Suddenlink does other things. They do internet and phone service through their lines, but this agreement is only related to cable television. There are certain requirements that are in your packet and that we discussed some last week, some highlights. Just again, this is a non-exclusive agreement. Other companies can come in. If we do not choose not to renew it, then Suddenlink will no longer be able to operate cable television services in this area within the city limits. Its customers would no longer receive that service, and we do not know of other providers that would be willing to step in. We have reached out to several other providers. There are, it's a field that is crowded with competition. Cable TV 30 years ago, 40 years ago, whatever might have been the main game in town, but now there's satellite services and cord cutting services that people are turning to as alternatives to cable. And so the high capital investment required for a cable franchise, people are not making as frequently. The city currently receives revenues about $345,000 from this agreement, so if we choose not to renew, we'll lose that revenue stream to the city as well. Again, this applies only to cable television services, not to internet services. And we do have a representative from Suddenlink here, Johnny Moyer, and he is here. He can address any questions you may have. And so that being said, I'll turn it over to you for discussion and comment.
Mr. Moyer, it is very likely someone will question you, so if you don't mind, if you'll come to the podium and give us your name and your address, and then I will yield the floor to council for any questions that they have.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. My name is Johnny Moyer, Government Affairs Director with Suddenlink.
Council, do we have any questions for our guest on tonight?
Mayor, may I have the floor, please?
Yes, ma'am.
I know we kind of brought it up last week on the customer service. Is we just want to make sure that we can get that increased and to better customer service for our citizens. And
I actually have news that the store is actually reopening this week. I was confirmed this afternoon before I drove up here from our office down in Plano, so that is confirmed. I don't know if it's Wednesday or Thursday, but when I do find out, I'll make sure that the council is aware. So that's reopening this week. As I mentioned last week, on the customer care side, we've had a lot of different conversations with a lot of communities across all our states and our footprint. We had, like I said, also 2 major storms that kind of dented some of the customer care issues. But the good thing is, though, before the storm in Louisiana in late August, there was a commitment from the company to directly involve several millions of dollars for customer care. That's hiring new people for the call centers that we have. That is new technology, different platforms for customers to be able to access a customer service agent or be able to do it themselves as well.
I've always been one that had issues with the Suddenlink contract. Unlike some of my other colleagues, I sat here 5 years ago in the same spot and listened to the promises of the increase in customer service. Unfortunately, we come to today. This is the only choice that we have. I just want to when we say customer service, one of the things that we have in our community that is also an issue is repairs. If your service goes down, it takes, I did a service call one time and on a Sunday, and they told me, we'll have someone out in a week and a half. And so I was up against not having cable, internet, as well as my home phone, all packaged in one. So, that's just one of the things, I know that we have a lot of people who are tuned in that, are upset, this with the Suddenlink. So we hope that we will do better. Also received a call today about some of the areas we still don't service. We have some areas that we have included as far as in the city limits, and we still don't offer services in there. So is there any way that we can try to address some of those issues? I think Mike said it was Section 7 of the contract said that there had to be so many houses in the area. Mm-hmm. But, as we are doing new construction and encouraging, new build in Muskogee can we try to get, some of the outlining areas also included in this?
No, that's definitely a good discussion to have. I mean, that's one thing that I've already started working with other communities that we've already been in place, and they are asking to look at other new subdivisions that are being built, new neighborhoods that are coming in. That's something that I work with our serviceability team to look and see what the cost analysis would be for us as a business to make that decision. And be happy to have that conversation with the council and with the staff to kind of see, where those areas lie and see if that's a possibility.
And probably, Councilor Reed, as part of those discussions, we should include someone from the county leadership so that they can be at the table when we have those discussions.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor, if I may add one thing as well. During the last term of our franchise agreement, we did have an occasion where a customer brought up to us that service was not able to be provided to their location. And in working with Suddenlink, we determined that they were within an area that had the requisite number of housing structures, and Suddenlink did make good on their promise and extend the line to cover that and the other houses within the neighborhood. So, having a good working relationship with them is going to be crucial for ensuring that we both work together to meet the terms of the franchise agreement. One thing I do want to add as it relates to customer service issues, and I've talked with many of you about this individually, is the protocols that we're going to put in place internally. A copy of those protocols have been attached to the agenda item. And essentially what will happen is we will have a form where customers who are citizens of Muskogee who have issues with Suddenlink can fill out this form, and we will assist in working with Suddenlink to get those problems resolved. We've kind of been doing it unofficially for the last several months to a year, and it has been very successful. But with this new revision, we want to make it more publicly available and well known. Now, I want to be clear that doesn't mean that the City of Muskogee administration is going to be customer service for Suddenlink. What it means is those customers who have reached out to Suddenlink and who have not been able to get satisfaction can come to us, and then we will attempt to help them solve their problem through Mr. Moyer's office, and they have agreed to do that. So that'll be another step in addition to what Suddenlink has already pledged to hiring new employees to do that we will be implementing as well in accordance with this renewed agreement.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I think that's an awesome caveat also, Mr. Tucker, because I'm almost certain when I say that I don't know of any other city who's willing to say as part of their extended contract that they will offer their services where there's a failure to communicate between the customer and Suddenlink directly, that the city will try to help them alleviate their problems. I think that's a wonderful caveat to the agreement. Any other discussion from the council, or do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Well, before we do that, Councilor Stout, I do want to point out one revision that we received today from Mr. Moyer's office that's a change from the form agreement that you all were provided, and that is in section 12G. And that relates to the maintenance of an office within Muskogee. As we had talked about during the public hearing, the proposal was that the requirement that there be an office within the city be struck. And we were hesitant to bring that forward to you all. And so in our preliminary discussions with Mr. Moyer's office, it was our understanding that they had agreed to include that provision back in there, such as the office is now opening. And Mr. Moyer can explain fully, they want to maintain the business freedom to not necessarily have that office open for the entire term of the agreement. And so what the proposed revision to the term would be to require that the office be maintained for 3 years, and then if the decision be made to close it, that we be provided 30 days notice of that. Because as you know, with COVID, many things are going virtual, and so they just wanted to ensure that they had the business freedom to make changes like that. Is that an accurate statement, Mr. Moyer?
Yes, I think the biggest thing is just the flexibility in some of our business decisions. Since March, We as a company have had to make changes for us as well. That includes a lot of different things that have been going to online bill payment, going online to manage your account, upgrade your services. You can make payments, online support, just different things. And so we're just looking at a way to be flexible with all the different alternative options there are for the customer right now.
And the other change is in Section 9 relating to rates and subscribers. And what that included is an addition of a clause which effectively says, subject to federal law and regulation, which is the inclusion of that clause into Section 9. And that's the only two changes from the agreement that you have in front of you.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
can I say this, sir? Can I say this?
Yes, yes.
I see this happen all the time and all the time. So if no other councilman going to speak up and say something tonight, I am. You know, we're up here discussing, we're talking to this gentleman. Can we as councilmen, before they make a first and second, get the rest of the councilman's opinion before you just do it so quickly? You know, other people up here want to talk, besides me.
Well, every meeting I preside at, I ask for comments and questions.
Right, I understand it, but what I'm saying is it's like we so in a rush to get a quick first and a quick second before we want to hear from anybody else. I just heard it just a while ago, just like that. You ask, does anybody else? And boom, here comes the vote. Here comes, you know. Can we kind of slow down a little bit on that? That's all I'm asking.
Well, I'm just going to clarify to you, Councilor Van, that before and after I call for a motion, I always ask for comments from the council.
Okay. I'm just saying, it just seemed like it's just so boom, boom, so quick. You know, before we even, right, this gentleman standing there and we talking, but it's, you know, y'all ready to go just like that. Shoot the gun off, boom, we done.
Well, I can't control how fast people ask for or respond to a motion in a second, but I have been controlling giving you all an opportunity to speak, which I'll continue to do.
Okay. I talked to this gentleman before the meeting and everything, and we discussed my bill. We got that lined out.
Yes, sir.
But I'm all about customer service too. And that's what I think, you know, Sutton needs to do better of, is customer service to our citizens here in Muskogee. And it's a crying shame that really, you really have us, because there's no other place here like Cox, anything, they're not coming to Muskogee. So you got the monopoly over us. We ain't got nothing to do but say yes up here. We got ourselves in Muskogee, we got ourselves in a bind right out the gate with Suddenlink. Because you know we ain't gonna turn you down because we want Suddenlink TV. So y'all got us. And the citizens in Muskogee need to know y'all got us. You know, ain't nothing we can do about it because we can't get nobody else to come here. You know, but on those boxes, you know, when you put those in and you charge us $4 or $5 extra per room, did that have to be done? Do you know?
I think it's just part of the added equipment there. I mean, you have one box and you have another room, another box. It's just different equipment that's from the company that's pretty much rented out on there. But I mean, you know, I'll go back to answer everything you said there earlier. You know, we're not, anyone else is capable to come in. I mean, it's a non-exclusive agreement. You know, as I said earlier, we're trying to be better when it comes to customer service. We want to make those improvements. The company understands that. I've been told that from them to make sure that this is a key point going forward, not just for your community, but for several communities throughout, all our communities throughout our footprint. You know, we got loyal customers here that we want to continue to service. And as you asked for some help earlier, I'd be glad to help you figure out some issues there with your bill, sir.
Okay. Like I said, you know, I just that's how I feel, that Suddenlink just got us. I ain't gonna say what the proper word is. I can't say it up here, but you don't probably know what I'm thinking. Y'all got us.
Well, I would say this: between January 2016 and July of this year, we've paid over $1.6 million in our franchise fees to the city here, and we're going to continue to do that with this new agreement.
Just please give us better customer service. That's all I ask, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other discussion?
I just had to make sure I'm clear.
Yes, ma'am.
On the customer service agreement here, for 3 years, y'all guaranteeing us a store or a mandated facility, but after 3 years, you may go to where we don't have that contact person anymore.
That was the new change that was added in there. We're not looking at closing the store after 3 years. We're just looking at a flexibility for us as a business to see what options there are down the road. We looked at this year with COVID, we had to close many stores, but our company still was running. We were still servicing our customers through a lot of the online options. 3 years, 5 years down the road, well, the store could still be here, but we're just looking as an option as a business to see what we can do.
How much footprint do y'all own in Muskogee? Y'all own all the cable lines? Just curious.
Actual mileage of the plant that we have here?
You give me the mileage. You own everything in the field for other companies not to come in here. They got the lay. Y'all own all that?
That's our property. That's our infrastructure.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
That kind of tells me now what Councilman McGee said. Y'all got all the blueprint and everything laid, lines and everything already here. So it makes it hard really for any other company to come here.
If someone wants to make the
It's gonna be more
investment and come in,
expensive.
they can.
I'm just saying it's going to be more
But no,
expensive.
we're not, you aren't stopping them through this agreement.
Oh, no, we tried, but no other company wants to come here. That's the problem. No other company wants to come to Muskogee, Oklahoma, except Sunlink. But, it's all good. Turn the floor back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Roll call.
Before we do that, can we clarify, Mayor, that the motion and second did include the revisions that we talked about?
Yes.
Was that,
Yes, to
Counselor
include
Stout?
yes.
That was
My
your
Move for
motion?
approval with the omissions
Yes.
that
Okay.
you'd.
Thank you.
As stated, roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
No choice. Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
No.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. That will close that meeting. We will now call to order the special call meeting of the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority for today, October 5th. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Here, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Here.
Evelyn Hibbs. Alex Reynolds.
Here.
Stephanie Morgan.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Tracy Hous.
Here.
Item number 1.
Consider approval of minutes of July 27th, 2020.
We've had an opportunity to review the minutes. Do we have any corrections or a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Item number 2.
Consider approval of a claim in the amount of $5,000 from the Small Special Project Fund paid to the Roxy Theater Community Trust in support of the Oklahoma Movie Hall of Fame.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, the item you have before you is just a routine measure. Generally, the Tourism Committee approves these items, but the funds were paid to an organization for which a member of the Tourism Committee is involved. So in that case, we bring those items forward to the full MRA for approval. The amount of the claim is $5,000, and we do recommend approval.
Do we have any questions or do we have a motion to proceed?
Move for approval.
Second.
Been properly motioned in second. Further discussion?
It's not, yes, you can.
Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes and that meeting is adjourned.
Call to order the Finance Committee meeting for October the 5th, 2020. Item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Finance Committee minutes of September 21, 2020.
Reviewing of the minutes, are there any corrections or additions to our minutes?
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve our minutes. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 1 passes. Item number 2, please.
Consider approval of claims for all city departments September 12, 2020 through September 25, 2020.
Do we have a report from the Purchasing Committee?
The purchasing committee did meet this afternoon, and we approve all claims. I move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve our claims list. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 2 passes. Item number 3, please.
Consider approval of change order number 2 for the wastewater treatment plant rehabilitation emergency clarifier repairs in the amount of $204,561.90 for biosolids removal, hauling, and disposal costs, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes, Chairman and Committee. I want to start by telling you that we've had many change orders before you in the last couple of days, and we've got several more coming. And I wanted to make sure you knew that change orders are governed by the Oklahoma bidding laws, and they are part of public projects and they're needed things that we have to do. I did want to point out to you that projects that are $1 million and under are not to exceed a 15% amount. And if you'll notice, when we put the change orders in front of you, we always put the original price, the change order price, so that we can keep up with that. And we're governed by that, by the bidding laws. Projects over $1 million are the greater of $150,000 or 15%. And I know a lot of new council members up here may not know that, but we are governed by the Oklahoma bidding laws, and we try to make sure you have that information when we give you a change order. So the change order before you today is change order number 2 for the wastewater treatment plant. This is a project where we were actually removing sludge from our primary clarifier number 2. That's really kind of the first stop on the process out at the sewer plant. It's where we start separating the solids from the liquids. What happened out there, we needed to do some work on the drive motor, and we had originally estimated 350 tons of sludge product in that clarifier. But what happened was, at the first of the year, the flood affected our digesters, and we weren't able to send the product over to the digesters, so the primary clarifier became a holding tank, and we had to put more and more product in there every day. The reason we couldn't send it to the digesters was because of the flood, and one of the issues that we had was the natural gas lines that feed the digesters that supply heat to the boiler system supplies heat to the digesters had to be shut down. So therefore, the primary clarifier became a holding tank and more product was put into it. The original bid was for 350 tons. What we had to actually take out was 902. By the way, OWRB, who governs these loans for us, it's an OWRB loan. One of their representatives is in all of our meetings that we have, and they knew of this process. This does require a change order, though, to approve it. This is a budgeted amount that is okay, and we recommend approval. And Ron Bladen is here to assist me with any questions you might have on sludge removal.
Have any questions or discussion for Mr. Stewart?
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Roll call, please.
Tracy Hoos,
Yes.
Tracy McGee, Stephanie Morgan,
Yes.
Alex Reynolds,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed,
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 3 passes. Item number 4, please.
Consider approval of awarding a contract to Tonto Construction in the amount of $86,400 for biosolid removal, hauling, and disposal by agricultural land application from digester number 1 at the pollution control plant, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart?
So when our process out there is running appropriately, that sludge would go from the primary clarifier over to the digester. We have 3 digesters out there, and we try to clean one of those digesters out every year. That is something we budget for annually. So this is a budgeted item to remove sludge. It's more of a solid product out of the digester. It is land applied, which means it will be taken to an approved ODEQ site. Tonto Construction has done this for us many years in a row, and if you'll notice, there's 2 bids on there, and they are the low bid. Again, Tonto has done this for us for many years. We do recommend approval of that, and it is a budgeted item. It's $86,000, and we budgeted $90,000. So it's budgeted. It's an annual event, and again, Mr. Bladen's here to assist me if you have any questions. But we do recommend approval, and it did go through purchasing.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this agenda item. Any questions or discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
The question I have, Mr. Stewart, because I don't understand the process, we have, you said 3 of these digesters, but we clean 1 a year. Is there a reason why we do 1 versus all 3?
Usually it comes down to funding,
Funding, okay.
but we do have 3 for the redundancy, and that's to keep us in the process.
Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Tracy Hoos,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan,
Yes.
Alex Reynolds, Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 4 passes. Item number 5, please.
Consider approval to accept the 2020 Justice Assistance Grant in the amount of $31,183 or take other necessary action.
Chief Teehee.
Yes, councilmen and members, this is just one that we apply for every year, and we've gotten for several years. Just the acceptance of it's already been, we've already been told that we've been approved for it.
Move for approval.
Second.
Thank you, Chief, for all your hard work on getting these grants.
Thank you.
All right, any questions?
Chief Teehee,
Yes.
for the viewing audience, tell us the benefits that this grant will provide to the community.
For several, it's one that I believe this is the one that we split with the county because of population, and for several years we've used it for computers for cars. This year we've got to replace some weapons, and so it'll help us with unbudgeted money that we can use for weapon replacement.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 5 passes, and with that item passing, that is our final item for our Finance Committee.
I would like to call to order the Public Works meeting for September 21st of 2020. Item number 1, please.
October 5th.
I read your deal. Sorry, October 5th of 2020. Item number 1, please.
Consider approval of Public Works Committee minutes of September 21, 2020.
Move for approval.
Second. Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Item number 2, please.
Receive report on the progress of city-county cooperative street projects in the southeast zone of the city of Muskogee or take other necessary action.
Mayor Coleman.
I'm going to ask Mr. Stewart if he'll join us at the podium at this time. For several reasons, he will be able to answer more detailed questions about some of the project and the efforts that had to go into them. But I also want him to be at the podium to give him a public acknowledgement of thanks, because many of these projects that we're going to talk about tonight were either in discussions or led by Mr. Stewart when he was working for the city as the Public Works Director. He retired happily away from us, I'm sure, and then he returned when the need was there. So I want to just say publicly to you, Mike Stewart, thank you for what you've been doing, even in a post-retirement world, to help your city to be great.
Thank you.
So what we see on the screen now is Hancock Street, and we should have called this the Good News Hour here in the city of Muskogee, because one of the top concerns that we always have questions about are regarding streets. So what we see on the screen now is the newly and improved Hancock Street, which was, from many estimates, a bumpy roller coaster ride before this point. But Hancock is an example of what we're doing across the city to be certain that we have better streets. Here's another picture of Hancock Street, much better than it's been. York Street. We want to talk about that for a minute, because I think what's important to highlight about the York Street project between Peak and Smith Ferry is the fact that this is a partnership with the county. This is a joint partnership with the county. The city, let me say that before I go any further, council had agreed with the county to work together on all of the projects that we're talking about tonight. And it's a testament to the will and the power of this body to get things done. Even in a time when we did not know what we would have to work with, the city and the county came together. So South York between Peak and Smith Ferry was a 50-50 project, 50% county, 50% city. The East Hancock Road between York and Country Club was a 55%, 45%, 55% county, 55% city, 45% county, where the city will reimburse costs at an appropriate percentage. And I want to say this also about the county, that the county supplied labor to do labor and equipment and materials for a 2-inch overlay on these two major projects. And we may not be able to have that type of work done all the time, but I think this is a time that we can celebrate a partnership between the city and the county. As we go forward with all of our budgets at the county and the city level, partnerships on streets projects are going to be crucial, because no one entity, even with the funds that were generated from the CIP, will be able to do every street completely to satisfaction over a short period of time. But over a longer period of time, if we keep working together, these will work fine. So the first 3 photos from Hancock were paving and drainage work that was completed. The last 2 photos we saw were for the South York project, which are in progress. These projects are in progress. Let me say before I turn the floor over to Mr. Stewart for any questions that we may have about the good news that we're doing on streets, that we are scheduled Thursday at 4:00 p.m. We are scheduled Thursday at 4:00 p.m. to do a partial opening of 24th Street between Oakmogee and Broadway. The reason why it's a partial opening is for several reasons. One, the final asphalt will not be laid until the entire project is done between Oakmogee and Shawnee. The reason that is because you get the warranty the day the last seal goes down, and we want to be certain that we give our residents the biggest bang for their buck through that warranty. Also, it's important to highlight that although we're opening that street, that there are going to still be some things along the side of the street, curbs and that kind of deal, that still need to be done. So it is a work in progress, but it is something for us to celebrate. For one reason, if nothing else, there's commerce on those corners. There's a church there. There's a strip mall there. There are other stores that have been impacted. This allows them to be in a better position to run their businesses. It also gives our residents the opportunity to have a drivable street without taking some of the longer detours that they've had to take. Hancock, East 43rd, and 24th Street are all successes of what we can do over the longer period of time, where the council has the will to be able to do it. The council is entrusted with budgeting, with having vision, with having the oversight of streets projects. And so certainly we want to thank the council for their aggressiveness and their eagerness to have approved these projects, and even be patient with the city and their staff as we go forward to complete as many of our streets as we can with the ongoing projects that are still pending. So I'm going to, Mr. Stewart may have something that I am certain I have missed, and certainly you're welcome to address any of those issues at this time.
Yes, I would love to give thanks to the staff at Public Works. David Garter and Melvin Parker are doing a great job in street repair and helping to put these projects together. And I'd also like to thank Mr. Miller, who helped figure out how to finance these projects many years ago. When he became manager, he asked me what one of my biggest problems were, and I said it was street repair. And we all knew what we needed to do, and we knew the streets that needed to be repaired, but we absolutely couldn't figure out how to get it funded, and he's the one that helped us get that accomplished. So as a resident, I thank him tremendously, and as an employee, he's a great person to work with on finding finance. I will tell you that the southeast zone project, the sealers, the micro sealers, moved into town today, so we're going to sit down and try to discuss the process to proceed with that. And tomorrow we're actually sitting down and signing a notice to proceed on the mill and overlay portion with APAC. So we'll be working that project out. As I know more details, I'll get them to you. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Stewart?
Yeah, Mr. Member, recognized?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Stewart. I've been out there on Hancock, looked at the work, looks good. I just wish in the communities on the southeast section of my ward, where you're putting these streets down, that they would do the culverts just like they've done out there. But I guess we don't have the money to do that, and we don't have the county behind us. Because like I say, the culverts on the southeast section that I've been trying to get cleaned out on Augusta for I don't know how long now, that hadn't been done. But I just wish we would do something when we're doing these streets on our culverts, because that water needs to go somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. I apologize. I thought that was a completed project on Augusta, but I'll go look at it.
But I'm just saying, on these streets, on the southeast section, me and Councilman Reed's ward, like Creek and over there in that area, Those culverts need to be cleaned out, and I mean, if they need to be changed out, they need to be changed out. Let's don't have to do it. Let's get in there and do it right the first time, and that way we won't have to go back. Because that's like I said, it ain't no sense in having all these pretty streets and you got water sitting on them all the time when it rains. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to be mean or hateful or anything.
I totally understand. The problem that we face, though, is it's property owner's responsibility. The county doesn't have, they're not as dense as we are, and they've got they don't have to have as many culverts when they go out and do a project. If we were to try to replace all of them, it would eat our budget alive. If that's something we need to look at in the future, changing an ordinance to put it where the city pays for it, then we'll just have to step up and figure out how to do it. But right now, we're doing all we can do just to fix the streets.
Can I ask you this question then?
Sure.
You said it's the customer's responsibility, which I know that, but in other places I've seen that I tell people, when they know the great all's coming and they got a bad culvert, go out to Wheel Metal, buy that culvert and get it ready, sitting there. So the great all they have to do is dig it out and set that. And y'all still do that, correct?
Correct. And in Ivory, we can actually take the pipe that's there out and shake it up in the air and shake the debris out of it. But the problem is sometimes when you do that, the pipe falls apart and then the resident's going to be responsible for a new pipe. Or if they've got concrete, the joints don't fit back together because they've just been in there too long. But we'll work with them. We'll do everything we can to replace it or put it back in. They just got to come out and tell us what they want.
What I'd like to see on this southeast section, that the people, Melvin or whoever goes around and is inspecting the streets, also look at the culverts and see if that culvert needs is bad, go knock on the people's door and say, we can do this for you if you'll get the culvert.
We could probably put together a handout to.
You don't mind?
To accomplish that. That's not a problem.
Okay. That's what I see as a big problem also on this.
That would help. I would be glad to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. I'll turn the floor back over to Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, that completes my presentation.
Thank you, Mayor.
Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Is there any more discussion from the council?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Mr. Miller, Mr. Stewart, if inside the city, what Councilor Reed was saying, if we were to go in there and replace some culverts similar to like when we redo a sidewalk, how would that cost go back on the home? I know if we go in there and do a sidewalk, and I'm not exactly clear, but I believe that the homeowner would pay that out over their taxes. How does that work?
So the way that program works is that we will go in and do the removal and assist them with the replacement, but it's their responsibility to pay for the actual concrete. It doesn't get billed to the city and then we bill them, or they'll pay for it direct. They'll actually hire a contractor to come in and do the work. What the city does is we go and do the removal, we haul off and help cut their costs. So we could work something, and that's actually what we do for the driveways. We'd remove it, haul it off, and then it would be their responsibility to replace it. So it's basically the same deal, it's just through ordinance.
Thank you.
Now, we don't put the dirt back, do we, Mike?
No. We try not. Now, sometimes we have
to,
but we try not to. If it's not something that can be compacted, I don't want to put it back in there.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more discussion?
I'm sorry about that, Mr. Chairman. I'm so used to looking over there at the mayor saying, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Any more discussion? Okay, I don't think there's any action that we have to take on this item. Item number 3, please.
Consider approval of change order number 3 to the 30-inch water line improvements project in the amount of $25,695, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart.
So, as you know, we're about to come to the conclusion on that 30-inch water line project. And as we have been meeting with the contractor, we've been discussing how we're going to tie the two ends together. Because the water line will have to be charged, and we will have to make sure that people that were serviced through the old line are now serviced through the new line. One of the items that we discovered is that on the west side of town, there's a nursing home out at the bottom of 40th Street on, I think it's Park Drive. And the way the tie-in was going to work, we were going to have to actually shut the nursing home off and run a temporary line to them, a 10-inch line to service them while the tie-ins were being made. So we got to discussing different methods. What this is called is a wet tie-in, where you go in actually shut the line down, figure out ways to get people water, go in and make your tie-in, and then recharge the line, and then recharge the system, and hopefully the nursing home and everything was shut off would have water. A little bit concerned about that, especially having a line running across the ground for however many days it takes to do this. We talked about doing a different type of tie-in, which is called a tap and sleeve, which will actually allow us to tie this water line together without ever cutting anybody off. A little more expensive, and that's why it's a $25,000 change order. But it will also not shut the nursing home off from water. It will also not shut any residents out in that area off. It will allow that line to stay in service all the time. As soon as that tap and sleeve is put in, which, by the way, one end of it is a 24-inch, and then on the east end of it, it's a 42. So it will allow this to stay in service. So we thought this was really a better way to do it. There are also 37 weather days that I'm asking for approval for. This is a contractor that's been out there every day. This project is run very well. These 37 days are what's actually allowed to him through the contract, through the weather days that are allowable. It's been documented. There is one other issue on this change order. When they first started the project, they tried to bore under 69 Highway and were unsuccessful. So they left a hole under the road that we're going to fill back in with flowable fill concrete, so that's part of the change. And by the way, it's not like there's a cavity out there. There's an encasement in the ground that's holding it up. We're just going to fill that in. So, but that's the change order. This is allowable. This is in the budget. This project is still coming in just fine, and we do recommend approval, and I'll try and answer your questions if you have them.
Council discussion?
Move
Sure,
for
I'll be
approval.
recommend.
Yes.
Oh, I thought some.
Oh.
I'll be recognized.
Yes.
Yeah, Mike, I've been out there and talked to these guys out of Tulsa. They're well-oiled machine.
McGuire Brothers.
Yes,
great,
sir.
Great contractors.
They're very great contractors, and the inspector they got on the job,
Brian Nutt does a great job.
he does a great job. So even though it ain't in my ward, but I still go look and see what's going on in places. I'm serious, because like I said, I talk to them well, and I watch some of them. They working. I mean, I think they're top of the line. That's all I can say. They top of the line.
They are. Thank you. I'll pass that along to them.
You tell them. Turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
All right.
Move for approval.
Second.
Roll call, please. Tracy Hoos,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan,
Yes.
Alex Reynolds,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed,
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
The motion passes. Item number 4, please.
Consider approval of the appointment of David Jones to the Street Advisory Commission to serve a 5-year term, replacing James Young, beginning October 1, 2020, and ending on September 30, 2025, or take other necessary action.
Mayor Coleman?
Yes, Madam Chair. This is a recommendation by Councilor Hibbs. She and I have had the conversation about David Jones being appointed to the Street Advisory Commission to serve a 5-year term. Councilor Jones, or former Councilor Jones, was an outstanding representative to the community when he served well representing Ward 1 as well as the concerns of the entire community. And so on behalf of Councilor Hibbs, I'm happy to make the motion to recommend David Jones.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Tracy Hoos,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan,
Yes.
Alex Reynolds,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed,
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the motion passes. Item number 5, please.
Consider approval of the appointment of Charles Floyd to serve on the War Memorial Trust Authority, filling the unexpired term of John Martin, beginning October 1, 2020, and ending on September 30, 2022, or take other necessary action.
This is my agenda item. I did finally get to meet Mr. Floyd this past Friday, and he's very new to Muskogee, and he'd like to be involved. And I move for approval.
A second.
Roll call, please.
Miss.
Or any discussion?
And Mr. Chairman, may I be recognized?
Yes.
I know this is your item, and we talked before the meeting, and, I don't mean no disrespect or anything like that. Stephanie, I don't,
I know.
And on this War Memorial Board, it's 9 people. You got 2 vacancies. 2 people quit. And I went to the War Memorial Board meeting about 2 weeks ago, and I never will forget that one. Trust me. But my problem is, just like I didn't say nothing on this appointment just a while ago on the Street Advisory Board, because we do have one minority on that board as a person of color. And like I said, when I appoint somebody, I always go, I want their qualifications. I also want to see what the diversity is. Because as you know, we're getting ready as a council to do diversity. And I wasn't going to class until somebody, a real good person, talked me into going. Because the way these appointments are made sometime up here, I have a problem with that. But I see the next appointment, I hope somebody, because at the War Memorial Board, there's no people of color on that board. None whatsoever. And so I hope the next person that gets appointed is the person of color, like I am. You know, so I don't mean no harm, but I'm pointing that out to you. Because, like I said, I think myself, I asked the question because I don't really know why a councilman is on this board. It should be, to me, people in the military that know about this stuff, this business side and everything. But, you know, I'm going to approve this, but like I say, the next appointment, I think, should be a person of color to kind of give y'all a little flavor on that board. That's just me.
Well, and just to let you know, on the application, it doesn't state what color you are. I just picked the best applicant, and then I finally got to meet him this past Friday.
And if you picked him, I know he's good, but I'm just saying, we always say we want to come together as diversity, as a city. And we're going to have this meeting on October the 24th, I believe, somewhere in there. We're going to talk about diversity. This is the fine time. This is right here is a perfect example right here. It's nothing. So I'll turn the floor back over, Mr. Chairman, but I'll prove you, the person. You say he's good, but then this next one, I'd like to see a little diversity on it.
Okay, any other discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
And the motion passes. No one is here to speak, so I adjourn the meeting.